The Freedom of the Soul, Part 3. This idea seems to be the most prominent in Vedanta, and as I have said, it appears to me that every religion holds it. I have yet to know the religion which does not. It is the one universal idea working through all religions. Take the Bible, for instance. You find there are allegorical statements that the first man, Adam, was pure and that his purity was obliterated by his evil deeds afterwards. It is clear from this allegory that they thought that that the nature of the primitive man was perfect. The impurities that we see, the weakness that we feel, are but superimpositions on that nature. And the subsequent history of the Christian religion shows us they also believe in the possibility, nah, the certainty of regaining that old state. That is the whole history of the Bible, Old and New Testaments, together. So, with the Mohammedans, they also believe in Adam and the purity of Adam. And through Mohammedan, the way was open to regain that lost state. So, with the Buddhist, they believed in the state called Nirvana, which is beyond this relative world. It is exactly the same as the Brahman of the Vedantins, and the whole system of the Buddhist is founded upon the idea of regaining the old lost state of Nirvana. In every system, we find this doctrine present that you cannot get anything which is not yours already. You are in debt to nobody in this universe. You claim your birth, your own birthright, as it has been most poetically expressed by a great Vedantin philosopher in the title of one of his books, The Attainment of Our Empire. That empire is ours. We have lost it and we have to regain it. The Mayavadin, however, says that this losing of the empire was a hallucination. You never lost it. This is the only difference. Although all the systems agree so far that we had the empire and that we have lost it, they give us varied advice as to how to regain it. One says that you must perform certain ceremonies, pay certain sums of money to certain idols, eat certain sorts of food, live in a peculiar fashion to regain that empire. Another says that if you weep and prostrate yourself and ask pardon of some being beyond nature, you will regain that empire. Again, another says if you love such a being with all your heart, you will regain that empire. All this varied advice is in the Upanishads. As I go on, you will find it so. But the last and the greatest counsel is that you need to weep. You need not weep at all. You need not go through all these ceremonies and need not take any notice of how to regain your empire because you never lost it. Why should you go to seek for what you never lost? You are pure already, you are free already. If you think you are free, free you are this moment. And if you think you are bound, bound you will be. This is a very bold statement, and as I told you in the beginning of this course, I shall have to speak to you very boldly. It may frighten you now, but when you think over it and realize it in your own life, then you will come to know that what I say is true. For supposing that freedom is not your nature, but by no manner of means can you become free. Supposing you were free and in some way you lost that freedom, that shows that you were not free to begin with. Had you been free, what could have made you lose it? The independent can never be made dependent. If it really dependent, its independence was a hallucination. Of the two sides, then, which will you take? If you say that the soul was by its own nature pure and free, it naturally follows that there was nothing in this universe which could make it bound or limited. But if there was anything in nature which could bind the soul, it naturally follows that it was not free, and your statement that it was free was a delusion. So, if it is possible for us to attain to freedom, the conclusion is inevitable that the soul is by its nature free. It cannot be otherwise. Freedom means independence of anything outside, and that means that nothing outside itself could work upon it as a cause. The soul is causeless, and from this follow all the great ideas that we have. You cannot establish the immortality of the soul unless you grant that it is by its nature free, or in other words, that it cannot be acted upon by anything outside. For death is an effect produced by some outside cause. I drink poison and I die, thus showing that my body can be acted upon by something outside that is called poison. But if it were to be true that the soul is free, it naturally follows that nothing can affect it and it can never die. Freedom, immortality, blessedness all depend upon the soul being beyond the law of causation, beyond this Maya. Of these two, which will you take? Either make the first a delusion or make the second a delusion. Certainly, I will make the second the delusion. It is more consonant with all my feelings and aspirations. I am perfectly aware that I am free by nature, and I will not admit that this bondage is true and my freedom is a delusion. This discussion goes on in all philosophies in some form or another. Even in the most modern philosophies, you find the same discussion arising. There are two parties. One says that there is no soul, that the idea of soul is a delusion produced by the repeated transit of particles of matter, bringing about the combination which you call the body or the brain. That the impression of freedom is the result of the vibrations and motions and continuous transit of these particles. There were Buddhist sections who held the same view and illustrated it by this example. If you take a torch and whirl it around rapidly, there will be a circle of light. That circle does not exist because the torch is changing place every moment. We are but bundles of little particles which, in their rapid whirling, produce the delusion of a permanent soul. The other party states that in the rapid succession of thought, matter occurs as a delusion and does not really exist. So we see one side claiming that spirit is a delusion and the other that matter is a delusion. Which side will you take? Obviously, we will take the spirit and deny matter. The arguments are similar for both, only on the spirit side, the argument is a little stronger. For nobody has ever seen what matter is. We can only feel ourselves. I never knew a man who could feel matter outside of himself. Nobody was ever able to jump outside of himself. Therefore, the argument is a little stronger on the side of the spirit. Secondly, the spirit theory explains the universe, while materialism does not. Hence, the materialistic explanation is illogical. If you boil down all the philosophies and analyze them, you will find that they are reduced to one or the other or of these two positions. So, here too, in a more intricate form, in a more philosophical form, we find the same question about the natural purity and freedom. One side says that the first is a delusion and the other, the second is a delusion. And of course, we side with the second in believing that our bondage is a delusion.